and welcome. My name is Jodi Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. And welcome to the classroom. Yeah, so we are here today to talk about the anatomy of the upper body. This is your MBLEx review course. This is the place where you come to prep for the massage and bodywork licensing exam. And our class, the live classes, are in three parts. And that is part number 1 is going to be some test-taking strategy. I want you to understand that stinking test. Number 1, giving you confidence, calm confidence, right? Part number 2 is our learning. Got today, upper body anatomy. And we've spent some time in the past on the neck. We've spent some time on the upper limb. And today, look at the major muscles of the upper body. Yeah. So the last part of class, it will dissect some questions. Yeah. So 3 parts of class: test-taking strategies, learning, and then dissecting questions. All right. So let's talk a little bit about a test-taking strategy and something very unique to the computer adaptive test. So our test-taking strategy for today is to understand that the MBLEx is a computer adaptive test. What does that mean? That means that the MBLEx, as you may have heard, is actually going to get harder as you continue taking the test. What? What do you mean the questions get harder? Ah! That's what adaptive means. So computer adaptive, that test is going to adapt with you, with your unique responses, to either get harder or get easier. Okay. Well, don't we want it to get easier? No, not necessarily. Because here's how that works. You're going to get questions when you start your exam. For the MBLEx, you are going to have 100 questions. You are going to have 120 minutes. So really about 110 minutes by the time you get done filling out all the paperwork. You will get moderately difficult questions to start your test. They will be moderately difficult, okay? You will answer either correctly or incorrectly. The next question you get will either be harder or easier. If you answered the question correctly, the next question will be a little harder. But if you didn't answer it correctly, the next question will be a little easier. So the MBLEx is trying to assess your competency in each of the 8 categories. So it's a very sophisticated test. Tricky, yes, too, but it also will adapt and produce questions that they think you can answer. It's also going to challenge you to answer questions that are at the top of your difficulty range. Now, you would say, that is awful. Just give me all the easy questions. We can't. Your goal on the MBLEx is to score 630 points. And the easy questions are worth less points. The harder questions are worth more points. Now, you do have to pass each of the 8 categories to pass the MBLEx. So you've got to pass each of the 8 categories. And so in each category, this computer adaptive test, the MBLEx, is adapting to your skill level. So while you're taking the test, you don't need to think about any of that. The only thing you need to remember is that if you're getting a difficult question, that's a good sign. That means you've answered a bunch of questions right? So be kind of like, oh, damn, this is a tough question. Oh, damn, that's a good sign. Yeah. So just roll with it. Know that that computer is adapting to find a way to get you the most points. And sometimes it'll give you a little bit of an easier question. But look forward to the difficult questions. Look forward to being really at the top of your knowledge when you go to take the MBLEx. Being at the top of your knowledge means that you're scoring the most points. So that is the computer adaptive test, the definition of what that is, which is the MBLEx, the style of test. I just want you to understand that even when you see 3 answers, some of the questions you're going to get have 3 answers, only 3 answers. That's not necessarily an easier question. It is a newer question because the entire MBLEx by 2025 will be 3 answers. But 3 answer questions are really good because you have one less wrong answer to figure out, right? So it's a good thing when you get a 3 answer question. So the MBLEx adapts. It is a computer adaptive test. Difficult questions are more points, and your goal is simply to score 630 points. So let's do some learning. All right. So anatomy of the upper body. This is an anatomy specifically for a review to prepare for the MBLEx. This is an MBLEx review course. So upper body anatomy, major muscles today. Major muscles and a little bit of movement of the upper body. So let's take a look at one section that we're going to start at. We're going to start with the arm. We're going to move into the back, and then we will do the abdomen. So these are major muscles of the upper body, but let's just review where we are. We are in the upper body. This is the arm. Here you see the humerus, the radius, the ulna. We see the bones of the hand. This is the region we're going to be starting from. You see the glenoid cavity, the little socket for the head, the proximal head of the humerus. Yes, so the glenoid cavity, the humerus, the glenohumeral joint. Let's take a look at some muscles, a few muscles of the arm. Nice clear picture. Reminder that the radius is located on the thumb side. So in anatomical position, thumb side. That makes the ulna on the pinky side. Ulna is a shorter word than the pinky. Ulna is a shorter word than the radius. Little pinky, little finger, little word. All right. The biceps and the triceps. Figured I'd start with some easy ones for you. Let's take a look. Biceps, go ahead and put your hand on your bicep. Bicep. Wait. Bicep flexes at the elbow. Bicep. Flexes at the elbow. So when it contracts, it gets short. When it relaxes, it expands. When the triceps, so the movement of the triceps extend at the elbow. So when we're in the gym, sometimes you see tricep extensions, extending at the elbow. And the bicep has to turn off for the tricep to contract. So for the tricep to contract, the bicep has to turn off. Good. Just a reminder, too, that every muscle is attached to a bone, that muscles are attached to the bone by the tendon. The tendon also contracts in movement. Let's take a look at the deltoid muscle. This is one of our favorites, right? The deltoid muscle. I'd like you to notice that it has an anterior, a medial fibers, and posterior fibers. And thank you, Joe Muscolino. He's a great massage educator, Joe Muscolino. One of the things I love about this picture is take a look. Here's your deltoid, guys and gals. Look where it's inserting in the posterior fibers. What does that look like? Would that be the scapula? Yes. So that posterior deltoids, the posterior fibers of the deltoids insert into the spine of the scap. But that lends itself to the movement. So what movement do you think the deltoid produces? Make the movement. All right, take a look. The major movement of the deltoid is to abduct the arm at the glenohumeral joint. So the entire muscle kicks in when it abducts, abducts at the glenohumeral joint. It also flexes. So let's go through each fibers. Take a look. We've got 4 other movements to look at. So it flexes the arm, the anterior fibers. So the front fibers flex the arm at the glenohumeral joint. The posterior fibers extend the arm at the glenohumeral joint. All right. We got 2 more movements to look at. And when we look at these movements, here is the head of the humerus, right? The head of the humerus, the proximal end of the humerus, the head of the humerus. Distal end down here at the elbow. Down here at the elbow. Distal end of the humerus. Proximal end of the humerus. So for that glenohumeral joint, we're looking at the head of the humerus. And if we medially rotate, so from anatomical position, we are medially rotating the head of the humerus by doing this movement. This is also pronation. Time to dissect some questions. All right, that was a lot of muscles, you guys. It was. That was a lot of muscles. Yeah. All right. So that was a kind of a run around the upper body. But those are the major muscles. So let's dissect some questions having to do with what you just learned. And this is what happens when you take a class in the online learning center. So in the future, depending on how long you're going to be studying, if you've got an 8-week cycle, you can do the class in the online learning center to prepare for this class. So today we did upper body. In the online learning center, you have an upper body class. Now you say, well, that would have been nice to know, Jodi. Well, it's not too late. You can actually, even if you don't have time to review that class beforehand, you can attend class hear the upper body uh, live class, and then take it a step further and solidify your learning by watching the 1 hour lecture on the upper body anatomy. So in class, we can only get so much done, right? Um, and so I've prepared 8 different lectures for you that take a deeper dive into the more intrinsic muscles of the upper body. But what we covered today was a pretty good review. We did not get to sits. We only did one of our rotator cuffs. So again, that's an upper body anatomy lesson. The other, and we didn't really talk about intercostals, right? So if you want to look at, so you can look at intercostals and your rotator cuff muscles in the longer lecture. Okay, but let's go and dissect some questions. Oh, one other note about the Online Learning Center. After you listen to the lecture or after this class, maybe you want to go do the quiz. Now that you've had a lesson in upper body anatomy, go try the quiz. Now, if you crash and burn on the quiz, listen to the lecture. This is a dynamic way to learn your upper body anatomy. And we do that in each of the 8 classes. All right. Ready? You can warm up your quiz taking skills. Here we go. You see these type of questions on the MBLEx. Sorry. It is a kinesiology question and anatomy.
Shoulder joint. Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks.
So the group of muscles that best describes the movement of abduction at the shoulder joint. Shoulder joint. I gave it to you. They're going to tell you glenohumeral joint. Telling you right now. You got kind of a pass on this question because you know you're at the shoulder joint. So, the group of muscles that best describes the movement of abduction at the shoulder joint are, so what the question is asking, which muscles are involved in abduction of the shoulder joint? Now, there's a lot of muscles here. My strategy would be find one that's definitely not involved. You know for sure, it is not involved in abduction of the shoulder joint. So what's the movement in your seat right now? Do the movement. Start in anatomical position. We are not in the horizontal plane. We are not in the transverse plane. This is not horizontal adduction. Abduction. Do the movement. I'm not going to do it because I want you to do it. What muscle, and all these muscles, when you just scan all those muscles, what muscle is definitely not involved? Ready? Okay. Infraspinatus is not involved. Subscap? Subscap might stabilize, but infra is not involved. All right. Let me take a look at our chat. Okay. 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 We've got a clear point of view here. All right. So the movement of abduction that we're looking for is this. And we described this specifically in class today. All right. Best answer? What starts the movement? Supraspinatus starts the movement. Deltoids, all heads. Teres minor is not involved. Sorry. Teres minor is not the helper. Biceps are the helper. Yeah. In fact, take a look at the slide, remember? Yeah. So teres minor is not involved. Infra is not involved. Teres major isn't involved. In fact, serratus anterior is actually involved once you get below above 90 degrees. That's what helping to stabilize up here. So great, great work. Tricky question. This would be worth a lot of points. So supraspinatus starts the movement, deltoids all heads. So if you look at the answer, it wasn't deltoid anterior, deltoid posterior, which implies the whole thing. And then the biceps as a helper. And also the lats aren't involved. You could have eliminated letter D too. Yeah. So it was tricky. A and B were both really good answers. But it's the biceps and the trapezius and the serratus that are the helpers there. All right. Good guess. Good guess. Let's continue on. Okay. What best describes the movement of a sit-up? The exercise sit-up. Exercise sit-up could also be called a crunch. What best describes the movement of a sit-up? A. Unilateral rectus abdominis. Bilateral rectus abdominis. Unilateral of obliques. Bilateral of obliques. Ooh, we got the answers rolling in. Let's see. Good, Maya. Amanda nailed it. All right. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, yep. Brienne, you got it. Yep. Marcia, Paris, Patita. Yep, this one's a little tricky, right? A little tricky. Are you thinking of the rectus abdominis as one unit or two? Hmm? Mm-hmm. I know. I know. There's a little gray area here, to be honest with you. But let's eliminate one wrong answer. Are the oblique muscles, thinking about it, are those one or two? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's get rid of one. We know it's not, we can't even do bilateral oblique. It's physically impossible. So that can't be right. All right. Best answer. Bilateral contraction of the rectus abdominis. I would also accept unilateral rectus abdominis because you might be thinking of that rectus as one side, right?
Yes.
Answers, yes. All right, best answers, bilateral. Technically, biologically, we think there's a big piece of cartilage in the middle there of that rectus, not cartilage, of fascia in there. But you could make an argument either way for unilateral or bilateral. All right, y'all. That is a wrap. All right. Good work. Super job. Woo! That was a lot. That was a lot. Let's share. Let's go to, yeah. Boy, that was a lot of muscles and a lot of thinking, but you nailed it. So congratulations. Check the box. You have taken a step forward in your journey to passing the MBLEx. It's official. You just spent time learning. You just spent time reviewing. Even if it was a baby step, just a baby step towards being more prepared for the MBLEx. So good on you. And this journey, it was Tao Latz, sorry, Tao, that said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And for some of you, you may feel like this has been a journey of 1,000 miles. That's okay. You know what I'm here for? The last step. The last step. You, with the pass paper in your hand that says pass. Yes, yes, and yes. If your journey has felt like it's been 1,000 miles, well, then all the more rewarding to take that last step. And I'm here for it. I'm your accountability buddy, and I'm here for it. My name is Jodi Scholes. I'm your instructor for the MBLEx review course. For those of you watching later, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you again real soon.